I've stayed in Boston for over 2 years now, and I know a lot about the city. So, if you're someone who is moving to Boston for work or university, I could help clear a lot of doubts in your mind and, in general, tell you what are the things you need to know about Boston before you move over here. The first thing would be cost of living. Boston is very expensive, there's no doubt in that. Massachusetts is actually the most expensive state in the US, and it's mostly contributed by Boston and Cambridge. When you think about expensive states, you'd think about New York or California, right? But no. Turns out Massachusetts is the most expensive state, and it's mostly contributed by Boston and Cambridge. Now, this does not mean that Boston is the most expensive city. It's most likely going to be New York City or San Francisco or something, but on average, if you take the entire state, Massachusetts is the most expensive state compared to any other state in the US. So cost of living is going to be high. A single bedroom apartment can cost you anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000, and if you want to save on rent, you can go ahead and increase the number of roommates you have, or go for larger apartments in general. So the more people you have and the larger house you have, the more you'll be able to split and then save costs like that, or go for a shared apartment. Also in US, we have a sales tax and a state tax, which is added to the overall price of the item. What do I mean by this? So if you go ahead and purchase an item in the store, that item could be $2, but then there's a state tax that added to that price, and then the price would increase like that. So all the different states will have their own state tax, and depending on which state you live in, it will vary. Massachusetts has one of the highest state taxes at 6.25%. This will also contribute to increased living expenses in the city. So make sure you know that there are higher state taxes as well. The second thing is weather. So the weather in Boston is towards the extremes. If it's cold, it's very cold, and if it's hot, it's going to be very hot. It's very few days where you'll have the perfect pleasant weather. So before moving into an apartment, make sure you check that you have an AC and a heater as well, because the temperatures vary between these two, and then you'll have to regulate your temperature, room temperature, based on that. If you've done any research about Boston, you would know that it snows a lot as well. And that is true. In the winters it will get very snowy, and then there are a couple of days where the snow is so bad that you cannot even get out of the house. This sounds bad on paper, but usually the city is very proactive in cleaning out the snow. So before a snowfall, they'll lay out salt everywhere so that all the ice melts quickly, and even after the snow, they clean up the ice very quickly. So it doesn't really cause a lot of hindrance, but there are a couple of days where you won't be able to get out of the house. Also, it will rain a lot as well. It could rain up to a third of the month. So out of 30 days, it could rain up to like 7 or 8 days in a month. So it rains a lot as well. So the weather is very unpredictable. It could just be sunny in the morning and then start raining in the evening, or it could be very hot in the morning and then by the evening it will get very cold. There have been a couple of instances where I went to the university in the morning. I didn't take any coats or jackets because it was so hot, and by the evening the cold was unbearable. So make sure you plan your day throughout, check the weather app, and then plan your day throughout and keep an eye on the weather basically. Public transportation. Now, Boston has one of the best public transportations in the country, not in terms of being very quick or very fast, but in terms of being reliable. MBTA, which is the state-owned transportation department, they have buses and trains. The trains are called the T. Boston actually has one of the oldest stations in the entire country. And then the trains run throughout the city, so you do not have to worry about going from one place to another and then getting stuck. And you definitely do not have to worry about getting a car or getting an Uber. Usually it is reliable enough to get you from point A to point B. If you are new to Boston and you know you're gonna travel a lot, you can get a weekly pass or a monthly pass. It will cost you less than per ride. So it will save a lot of money and you could get around the city very quickly and very conveniently. Next, we have neighborhoods. So there are a lot of neighborhoods throughout the city, and depending on the neighborhood, the prices of the apartments could vary a lot. And then there are some neighborhoods that are safe, and then others which are like kind of sketchy. So make sure you do some research before moving into the different neighborhoods. Back Bay is considered to be the most beautiful of the neighborhoods in the entire city, alongside the northern part of the city or like downtown part. And if you are moving for, let's say, university, depending on which university you're moving to, if you're moving to Boston University, you can either find apartments which are close to the university, which is going to be Fenway, Brookline, or Longwood, but the apartments over there are going to be expensive. So in place of that, what you could do is go ahead and move towards Allston or Brighton areas, or even towards Newton, and it will save a lot on the rent as well. So the city has a lot of different neighborhoods, and just make sure you do some research before moving into a particular neighborhood. Next, we have the job market and schools and universities. So there are a lot of universities and schools throughout the city, and there are a lot of job opportunities available as well because of that. And since the city is not very big, you'll see a lot of different students from a lot of different schools. It actually feels sometimes like pretty much every other person in the city is a student over here. Also, Boston is like a hub for biotech industry. There are a lot of huge biotech companies in Boston, and they do a lot of research stuff as well. So if you're interested into biotech, Boston could be the perfect place for you. And in general, there are a lot of startups, and the area of Cambridge has a lot of tech hubs as well. So a lot of technology companies are also present in the Boston and Cambridge area. Next, we have sports culture. Bostonians are known for their sports culture, and they have a team for all of the big sports in the US, and all of these teams perform very well usually. For baseball, Boston has a very popular Red Sox team, which is by far the most popular team in the entire city. Then for football, they have Patriots. For ice hockey, they have Bruins, and for basketball, they have Celtics. So they play all of the major sports in the entire country, except soccer. And it feels like everyone is a huge fan of all of these sports. So if you move to Boston, chances are very high that you're gonna be asked about sports, because everyone just keeps talking, or like everyone you know would be involved in some or the other sports or team. History and culture. Boston is one of the oldest cities in the entire country, and it is one of the first 13 colonies that were founded when the British came to the US. So Boston has a lot of history and a lot of culture. There's like a huge freedom trail that you could explore if you come to Boston. It's like goes through all the historic sites in the city, and then you'll feel that it is historic because all of the houses and buildings are like very bricky. So they look old and they feel old. Like if you come to Boston and you live in an apartment, you'll know that it's like very old compared to something like, let's say, Cambridge, where as soon as you move to Cambridge, it will be like, you'll know that all of the buildings have been made recently because they look so new. Most of the universities and schools in Boston are like super old, and so are the apartments. But that's not a bad thing, that you could explore a lot in Boston. Next, we have healthcare. Boston is very well known for its healthcare. I didn't know how good healthcare in Boston is compared to other places. Recently, someone pointed out that healthcare is not even throughout the entire country. Someone recently told me that a friend of theirs went to Florida and they wanted to get their tooth filling, and the doctors were like, they can't do filling, they can only do extractions of the tooth. And he was super shocked to know that how can you not do something as common as like tooth filling. So yeah, the healthcare would vary throughout US wherever you live. Some places are good, some places are bad. Boston obviously has very good healthcare system. Next, you have parking and driving. The city actually penalizes you to have a car, so it's very expensive to park And then driving is also kind of difficult because there's a lot of traffic throughout the city, so driving could be a bit difficult, and finding a parking is even more difficult after that, and the parking tickets are even more expensive than that. So the city actually penalizes you to have a car. Given how convenient it is to use T or buses in the city, it's better to use those. If you do not want to use T or buses, the city has its own bike sharing program where you can rent a bike for a few hours and then go throughout the city, or you can get a pass for the bikes and then just bike around wherever you want to. So there are a lot of options to commute. But if you are coming with a car or hoping to get a car, make sure that you know, first of all, finding parking anywhere you go is going to be difficult. There are a lot of traffic, and if you're renting an apartment, then there are going to be additional costs for the parking spot. So make sure you familiarize yourself with all of these things. It's just diversity. The city is very diverse. You'll be able to find people from all different walks of life and all different races. And if you do a quick Google search, you'll find out that Boston is actually considered the most racist city in the entire country, which I've not found to be true, honestly. I could be biased because I've mostly visited the university areas and haven't been to more of the working areas or like sports stadiums or something like that, which are places where you might find some racism. But throughout my 2 years over here, I've never had any racist encounters, except maybe once or twice, but that's nothing new. I would have had once or twice such instances back in my home country as well, so it's not a huge deal as well. Also, if you're going to a university, a lot of the graduate programs are going to be filled with Asians, and also Northeastern University actually admits the most Indians compared to any other university in the entire states. It's like 99% of this grad population over there is Indians. So honestly, it feels a lot of the times like the entire city is skewed towards the minority. But yeah, a lot of different cultures come throughout the city, and then there's a lot of different cuisines that you can try or mingle with people from different cities or countries. For example, there's a huge festival that is celebrated throughout the country, especially in Boston, and then people from all around the country come to Boston. This is St. Patrick's Day, and the festival actually originates from Ireland, so which means there are a lot of Irish people basically in the entire city. Along with that, there's a whole district in the north of the city for just for Italians, and a lot of Italian people live in that area. So a lot of people from a lot of different places come to Boston. You'll never really feel bored because there are so many things and so many cultures to explore throughout the city. Next is social life. Now, most of the people I know who move out of Boston or move in Boston from some other place praise a lot about the social life over here. You'll never really get bored with the social life because there are so many things to do throughout the city, and there's always something going on somewhere or the other, and then you just have to find the right places in the city. There are tons of restaurants, theaters, bars, entertainment options, everything that you could ever imagine. It's like there in the city. It is very easy to find other people or meet new people. In fact, during my university days, there are so many events that used to happen. I used to go to some or the other event every single week. So it's like every week there would be some or the other thing that would be going on in school, and not just in school, like even the school arranges a lot of events like apple picking in spring or ice skating or other cultural festivals. And university is usually never going to be boring, but if you're coming here for work, even after that, you'll never really feel bored in the entire city. And the last one would be pet friendliness. So there are a lot of people who have a lot of pets throughout the city. So a lot of people have pets. Make sure if you are having a pet and if you're bringing them to Boston, make sure you talk to your landlord because pets will have additional costs involved in the rent. So make sure you inform your landlord. But apart from that, there are a lot of vets and a lot of parks throughout the city, so having pets is not really a problem ever over here. So and a lot of people actually have a lot of pets. Hopefully this video helped, and hopefully you learned a lot from my experience in the city. Hopefully I was able to answer all of the doubts that you had about moving to Boston. If there's something else that I missed and you want to point out, you can put that in the comments as well. And see you next time.